it is not necessary that if we have 7.9% rate of growth, and which is accentuated towards the urban sector, the poorest of the poor will also benefit out of it. It won't. Actually, it is very surprising that with the growth of the GDP, we quite often overlook that it is not being equally distributed. The second problem, as far as poverty elevation is concerned, is inadequate and insecure housing and services. Because of these handicaps, emerges a problem in the urban poverty segment area of violence and unhealthy environments. And the worst part is that in urban cities, the growing urban cities in our country, we have no social protection mechanism whatsoever. What is worse is that at the rate our cities are growing, there is not adequate access to health and educational opportunities for the poor. So after having told you the dimension of the property, let me add a word here that it is important that planners, people dealing with e-governance, should be clear that urban poverty is a dynamic condition, and that dynamic condition deals, or that dynamic condition is superimposed by both vulnerability and susceptibility to risks. These factor needs attention. Now, what is urban poverty? In short, urban poverty has 5 dimensions. You can stop me wherever you think that I am talking of too much economics, which doesn't gel well with you. But I'm trying to make it as simple as possible, because whatever you devise, whichever tool you use, please remember that till you do not know the melody, you may not be able to prescribe, and you will not be able to adapt the best possible tool. Now, as I said, poverty has discretely, analytically 5 dimensions. First, there is income poverty. Then there is health and education poverty. Then there is tenure. By tenure, I limit myself to housing. There is tenure and personal insecurity. And the worst part is the poor are the victim of disempowerment. I'll just briefly income poverty is caused by dependence on cash, and poor people don't have cash. It is a sector where unemployment is pronounced. It is a sector where lack of skills or existence of unskilled labor is the predominant malice. All this leads to bad health, inhibiting regular employment. What I am suggesting is all these factors exist in the urban poor, which eventually leads to a vicious circle of poverty. They can't be educated, they are not healthy, with the result they will remain poor, and you will have these segments existing in your best cities. Health, the second nature of poverty, gets affected by the very fact that the poor live in unhealthy circumstances. Overcrowding and unhygienic living conditions get further pronounced if you consider that the poor in urban areas always stay on marginal lands. They do not have proper land, they do not have proper housing, with the result that the urban poor are prone to environmental hazards like landslides, floods, disease, etc. Further, they suffer because of staying in marginal lands with issues like poor sanitation, quality of water, unsafe working conditions, which again is a vicious circle. The third kind of urban poverty is lack of education, which is largely because there aren't enough schools, and if there are schools, the poor cannot afford to make use of them. Security of tenure. Security of tenure basically means that they are not authorized demarcated areas which are affordable, wherein the poor can go and stay. What actually happens in practice is, in urban areas, most of the poor go and build shanties in either public or private land, which is quite insecure. Because they go and make homes in marginal lands, there is neither proper construction nor safety in these homes. All this actually leads to personal insecurity of the urban poor. When I talk of personal insecurity, what I am referring to is drug abuse, alcohol abuse, domestic violence, family breakdown, no real-time support to the children. And finally, we have to empower the urban poor. They must have proper access to jobs where they are existing. There must be proper training for them so that skills can be imparted. Now this is what I have told you is the dimension of urban poverty, and till you do not deal with urban poverty, you cannot have good cities. Unfortunately, till now, the focus has been on rural poverty. But one must remember that the bigger cities in India are growing faster than smaller towns. Such cities have the highest percentage of slum dwellers. If there are as many urban poor living outside of slums as they are living in slums, the focus on poverty alleviation will need to differ, not only limited to upgrading slums, but also providing proper skills to all the urban poor so that they can be gainfully employed. We need to understand the process of urbanization in relation to economic growth and migration. Migration is a very big problem as far as urban poor and growth